An experiment that might change our perception of the art world. Researchers have discovered that describing an object as a piece of art changes the way people appreciate the object. That was found by neuroscientists at Erasmus University. But the question is, does this mean that art is just one big scam? And what are the implications for, let's say, a film festival as the IFFR? Please welcome Noah van Dongen. Noah, welcome. Your research is about the appreciation of art. How we appreciate art and why we appreciate art in a certain way. Can you tell us why that's important to start with? Why that is an important thing to do research at?
Well, I have no clue why it's important. I thought it was interesting, and I got interested in it when I got at the Art Academy, and I was interested in the objectivity of art appreciation, because everyone was telling me that it was subjective, it was relative, you couldn't measure it, you couldn't quantify it. And I thought, well, if we have museums and if we have consensus on what is art and what isn't art, or what is good art or what's bad art, there must be something underlying our subjectivity and the relativeness of art. So I got it.
And you started as sort of a research project. Can you explain us what you did? Because you put people in a scan, right, to find out how it works.
So to use the correct term, we used electroencephalogram. So
sorry, again?
Electroencephalography is the correct term, I guess. EEG, you measure the electrical current on your scalp or your cortex via electrodes. And there's one area and one particular period in the onset of an experience that is correlated with the severity of your emotional response, whether negative or positive. And so if you perceive a picture, after about 600 to 900 milliseconds, you can measure a peak that is correlated to the severity of your emotional response. So to some pictures, you react less emotional than to others.
So you can actually see if somebody has feelings of, what is it, love, joy, appreciation?
Well, unfortunately, it's not that specific. It's only the severity or the level of emotional response, not so much the type of emotional response.
So you put, I think, 24 students in a lab, and you showed them pictures. And then what happened?
Okay, so we had pictures. They were either very negative or very positive. So let's say car accidents, chopped off hands, nasty stuff, and very pleasant pictures, happy puppies, children, weddings. And we presented them as either artworks, digital renderings, highly realistic paintings or photographs, or as archived work of photography from newspapers or personal collections. And then we asked them to rate them on appreciation, and we measured their EEG. And our results indicated that for the pictures, the photographs presented as artworks, they responded less emotionally, and they appreciated the pictures more than when they were presented as archived photographs.
Okay, so this means, I tried to introduce it briefly, but this means actually that when you say this is an object of art, that somebody has more appreciation for it than if you give them no context at all.
It seems to indicate it. Well, let me first state that there's a lot of research that there is something as quality. You can't polish a turd, but it appears that context does play a role in your appreciation of an object.
So this is, we know the stories of Duchamp putting a toilet in a museum. We know the stories of, for example, this was The Unmade Bed by Tracy Emin. Just everyday life objects in a museum, and people tend to feel tricked by it. But what does your research learn about? Tell about artworks like this?
It appears to indicate that if you are convinced that you are looking at art, you might appreciate it more than if you're not.
So I can put these water bottles and this table and make it an installation and get totally loaded, make a lot of money by putting it in a gallery or a museum. Is this the cynic conclusion?
Well, I won't go that far. It is, to me, and in comparison to other research, you need at least some quality or something of a reputation as an artist or a gallery to pull off something like this.
Okay.
But
then you can get away with everything.
Well, a lot of people can get away with everything.
We have asked you to think about what it means for a film festival or for an audience at a film festival, and you said we have to look at a clip from The Dark Knight. Yeah. Let's first look at it, and then you can explain why this is interesting.
Hmm? You know what I noticed? Nobody panics when things go according to plan. Even if the plan is horrifying. If tomorrow I tell the press that, like, a gangbanger will get shot, or a truckload of soldiers will be blowing up, nobody panics. Because it's all part of the plan. But when
It's all part of the plan. Explain.
Well, I don't want to say anything bad about any films in particular, but there's a lot of experimental films here, and not every film is of the same quality. But a lot of people visit these films and spend time and money on them. But on a regular day, nobody would, I don't think that a lot of people would see these movies in a different context. So just because the context of this film festival is here, you can experiment with your movie and people actually watch your movie.
You can display shit, is actually what you were saying.
No, well, I might be implying it, but I'm not saying it.
There have been numerous art philosophers thinking about this for hundreds of years. What does your research mean for example, one of the most known, Kant or Derrida? Are you saying this guy is right, this guy isn't right, or is something disputed after your research?
Nothing is disputed and nothing is proven. This research does appear to indicate that we emotionally distance ourselves when we perceive something as art. So it has, well, lends some credibility to the interpretation of Kant's theory of aesthetics. I'm not that familiar with Derrida, and I don't really like relativism. But there appears to be some merit for the, well, context relativeness of art appreciation.
Are you going to watch any of the experimental movies on IFFR?
Well, to be honest, I don't usually visit these movies, and I don't have a lot of time at the moment, but I always planned when I had more time, I would go to the International Film Festival and see as much as I can, but not this year.
Noah van Dongen. Thanks.